Have you ever heard of deep-sea gigantism? If not, it's the incredible phenomenon that means creatures that dwell in the deepest, darkest depths of the world's oceans can wind up reaching Leviathan-like sizes. Want to see the evidence? Here it comes in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. These are the biggest sea monsters ever. Number 15. The blue whale. The awesome blue whale is the biggest creature to ever live on planet Earth. It's larger than even any dinosaur. The most excellent thing is that these incredible sea monsters are still around today, so you could actually see one. It's pretty tricky to get your head around the real scale of the blue whale. They're monstrously big, measuring in at 100 feet long, which is like a 10-story building that's laid out flat, and weighing a totally incomprehensible 441,000 pounds. That's like 220 tons. This extraordinary whale is the biggest of all sea monsters ever. And just to give you a little clue into these sort of weights, the blue whale's tongue weighs about the same as an elephant, ridiculously enormous. And their heart, well, that's about the same size as a golf cart. Oh, and you can actually hear its heart beating from 2 miles away, which is mind-blowing. That gets us onto the blue whale's volume. They're the loudest creatures on Earth as well, and can make sounds so loud that they can be heard almost 1,000 miles away by other blue whales. That's as loud as the sound of the volcano Krakatoa erupting, which was literally heard around the world. Before we go on, like this video, smash the subscribe button, and click the notification bell right now, or this centipede will crawl on your face when you're sleeping. And now it's time for the sweet topic. This photo was sent to us by a subscriber and longtime fan of the channel after he found out that we were planning to make a video about big sea monsters. He claims the photo was snapped in the Amazon and captures the incredible moment when a colossal anaconda was yanked out of the water. Could this bad boy be a one-time example of the deep sea gigantism, or are there a lot of anacondas this size loitering in the waters? Or as some people think, is this actually fake? What do you think? Comment down below with the hashtag sweet topic and let us know your opinion in relation to what we just showed on screen. With that, let's keep things moving. Number 14. The whale shark. There's something fishy about this one, and it's not a whale at all. Despite its name, the whale shark is actually the world's biggest fish. They're only called whale because of their colossal size. How rude. Reaching sizes of up to 40 feet long makes it a big whopper. These big guys need a lot of food to keep them going. So what is it that they eat? Well, oddly enough, the whale shark, like other whales, even though, not a whale, mainly eats plankton. The teeny-weeny plants and animals that float around the sea. So the biggest fish mostly just eats the smallest fish. Go figure. These colossal creatures are actually really docile and have been known to interact with people who are swimming or scuba diving near them in water, sometimes even allowing them to take a ride. These friendly interactions with humans may well help to protect the endangered species, and as tourism to hang out with whale sharks increases, more of these awesome creatures will be protected. Well, there's a buck to be made, I guess, but whatever works. Number 13. The killer whale. The orca is somewhat unfairly also known as the killer whale. This super clever mammal's not a real threat to humans at all. In fact, there are actually no recorded attacks of orcas on humans in the wild. So it seems a pretty inaccurate name, but it does make these big creatures sound scary anyway. Although, if you are a sea-dwelling creature and this incredible sea monster is hungry, well, who knows? The orca is a member of the dolphin family, so they live in pods or social groups just like dolphins do. These guys are really sociable creatures and have a whole bunch of different ways to communicate with each other. Like dolphins, orcas also make different sounds that are used to interact with other orcas, and they use echolocation, which is where they make sounds that travel underwater and bounce off of objects. The orcas can then tell how far away, how big, and what shape something is. That's a super clever and efficient way to find their prey. It's an amazingly strong predator with a wicked set of skills that makes it perfectly equipped to hunt and thrive in the oceans of the world. Orcas do enjoy a wild range of different prey. They're definitely killers in that sense. At the top of the food chain, they'll hunt anything from fish and squid to penguins, seals, and seabirds. And they're also pretty partial to the occasional whale. The orca sure does have a big appetite. Number 12. The Great White Shark. You're gonna need a bigger boat. The first sea monsters on our list, although bigger, are like harmless baby birds compared to the blood-chillingly dangerous great white shark. It was a great white shark that stalked the coastline in the famous 1975 movie Jaws, and this is one massive terrifying sea monster. The great white is a purpose-built killing machine, with so many adaptations and features designed to make this shark one of the most efficient hunters on the planet. They have 3 rows of viciously sharp teeth, about 300 in total. It seems that as many as half of all shark attacks on humans in the world could be attributed to great whites. Although these sharks may not always be out to kill the humans that they nibble on, I don't really know how you can tell if a shark has good intentions, though. Some scientists have suggested that the shark is just merely curious and taking a sample taste out of a human, but it will discard them when it realizes it's not really what it was looking for. That's not really too comforting for the victim. The sheer size and enthusiasm of the bite means that many great white snack-sized nibbles are ending up fatal anyway. Number 11. The oarfish. If you've ever heard a salty old tale of deadly encounters with giant sea serpents, then this one's going to give you a shiver. The oarfish is that sea serpent. That's right, they're real. But how much battling they actually do with fishermen and boats, well, that's the fishy bit of the story. These incredible creatures live in very deep oceans, and it's thought that they probably hang out at depths of up to 3,300 feet, so they're very rarely ever seen. In fact, they're mostly only witnessed by humans when they wash up dead on beaches. They're the longest of all bony fish, growing up to a humongous 56 feet long. Another reason that these big guys are seldom seen is probably because they taste disgusting, described as a gelatinous goo. The giant oarfish has avoided becoming a sought-after fish simply by being too gross to eat. Already part of myth and legend, the giant oarfish does seem to have some kind of mystical power. They're known to turn up just before an earthquake, like some kind of slippery soothsayer. So that's one awesome sea monster. Number 10. Beluga whale. What a bulgy head this funny old whale has. A smaller sea monster than some, the beluga whale is the smallest of the whales, weighing up to 1.5 tons. It's still a whale after all, and it measures out to 20 feet in length. The beluga whale is most recognizable for its amazing white color, but they're actually dark gray when they're born, then slowly turn white over time. It could actually take up to 10 years for them to be completely white. That weird bulbous head is actually a really cool adaptation that this whale has developed. Inside the bulgy part of the beluga whale's head is a sort of pocket of stuff known as the melon, which is made up of a waxy, oily substance. Now, although that does sound gross, it actually helps these whales to use echolocation as part of their body that they use to bend and direct their sound waves. So when they're communicating with other whales, and the beluga, known as the canary of the sea, is the chattiest of them all, their melon helps them to send and receive sound waves so they can find each other and locate food. Please feel free to add your own hilarious joke about melons here, but keep it PG-13, please. This is a family show. Number 9. The sperm whale. The sperm whale, despite having a silly name, you know you're giggling a little bit, is still a super weird and mysterious whale, making it one of the more spookier sea monsters on our list. The sperm whale's bulbous head is filled with a strange substance that's been called spermaceti. Stop laughing. In the old times, whalers used to think of that stuff was just sperm in its head, but scientists have discovered that it's actually not. However, they actually don't really know what it is at all. There are a few ideas, but nobody really knows for sure. The main thought is that the substance has something to do with the whale's amazing ability to dive really deep for long periods of time. That's where they basically hold their breath for like 90 minutes. Amazingly, there are still good numbers of these extraordinary creatures in the wild. They were the most popular whale for slaughter by whaling vessels of the 18th and 19th centuries. And they're apparently a particularly good source of another weird substance called ambergris, which is a stinky, greasy wax that is made in the whale's digestive system. Even though it basically smells of whale poo, ambergris is used in perfume making. Ugh, gross. Number 8. The lion's mane jellyfish. With some of these awesome creatures growing up to 2.5 meters across and tentacles stretching an epic 30 meters, that's as long as the blue whale, by the way, the lion's mane jellyfish is definitely one of the world's biggest sea monsters. The lion's mane jellyfish, named because of their shaggy sort of appearance, like a lion's mane, live mainly in the North Pacific and Arctic waters, where they hunt for small fish and crustaceans. Spookily, these sea creatures are bioluminescent, which means they make their own light and actually glow in the dark. Although you probably wouldn't be too happy to see one coming, they really do have a nasty sting that they use to stun their prey before they consume it. The jellyfish's mouth is positioned underneath the bell shape of its body, so it's a dangerously efficient hunter, basically shaped like a massive trap, grabbing and stinging with its long tentacles and gobbling its prey. Their sting, although pretty nasty, is not really known to be deadly to humans. It is, however, pretty painful, so I wouldn't pet one of these guys if I were you. Number 7. Giant squid. These epic sea monsters are so cool. They're stuff of legend, old age tales of fishing boats being wrestled by these beasts. And when you see the size of some of the giant squid, you're going to understand why. The biggest ever recorded giant squid measured a colossal 59 feet long and weighed a ton. That would make some monstrous calamari rings. They may actually get bigger than that though, because these huge invertebrates are notoriously difficult to study, and much of their behavior and knowledge about them is generally still unknown. The closest that scientists ever really get is if a dead giant squid washes up on a beach somewhere, or they're accidentally caught by a surprised fisherman. They live in the very deep parts of the ocean. And it's believed that they mainly eat fish, other squid, and quite possibly even small whales. These creatures are equipped with 8 arms and 2 additional tentacles that they use for feeding, literally like hands for popping food into their beaks. The giant squid also sports a set of gigantic peepers. Their eyes are the biggest of all creatures on Earth, measuring a whopping 10 inches across. And that means that down in the sea where it's really dark, they can likely see their prey before their prey sees them, which is another awesome adaptation. Number 6. Giant Pacific octopus. The giant Pacific octopus is the biggest of all octopus species, and this mighty mollusk sure has some incredible skills. What about being able to change their appearance, a little bit like a chameleon, to blend into their environment, making themselves look like coral or a big old rock, just waiting for prey to pass by? It definitely does make these octopus handy hunters. They can also reach gigantic sizes. The biggest known measured was a mind-blowing 30 feet across and weighed a colossal 600 pounds. As well as looking pretty formidable, the giant Pacific octopus is also extremely intelligent. No, seriously, you don't want to mess with these creatures because they have 9 brains, 1 central brain and 1 to control each of their 8 arms. These clever octopus are maze-solving masters with an unusually clever talent for mimicry. They mainly eat smaller crustaceans, but some have been known to be partial to the odd small shark if it's on the menu. If threatened, they're going to expel a black ink to cloud their predator's vision, that way they can make an escape, like an octopus ninja. It's truly extraordinary. The giant Pacific octopus is one of the most well-armed of all our sea monsters. Number 5. Ocean sunfish. Some of the weirdest looking of our sea monsters, ocean sunfish are massive, tailless fish with huge fins, often found floating on their side. But unlike your goldfish, that doesn't mean it's at death's door. It's probably just actually soaking up some rays at the surface, hence the name sunfish. Their massive dorsal fin gives plenty of people a bit of fright, as they're often mistaken for sharks when they pop up to the surface for a spot of sunbathing. The heaviest of all the bony fish out there, the ocean sunfish can weigh as much as 5,000 pounds. That's as heavy as a small hippopotamus. To get to this size, they need to eat a lot. And strangely enough, their favorite food is jellyfish. And because jellyfish are mainly made out of low-calorie plain old water, these guys have to eat tons of them. Sadly though, with all of the plastic garbage that's floating around in the world's oceans these days, sunfish often mistakenly eat plastic bags, which look a lot like jellyfish when they're floating in the sea. This is now one of the biggest risks to the shrinking population of these fish. They're considered vulnerable in the wild. The poor old sunfish might not be as sexy as a shark or even as majestic as a whale, and it's definitely not the prettiest fish on the planet. But even floating blobs like this guy deserve a chance. So come on people, recycle, and let's save the sunfish. Number 4. The Japanese spider crab. The largest of crabs in the world, the Japanese spider crab has 10 legs and can span as much as 12.5 feet, weighing at almost 20 kilos. That's big enough to consume a human child. Masters of camouflage, these Japanese spider crabs live at depths of 150 to 200 meters, where they use the things around them to cover their shells and blend into the environment, becoming almost invisible to predators, which may account for how they can live for up to 100 years, with some of them surviving even longer than that. However, these oversized crustaceans are more likely to be hunted by octopus or stingray than be much of a threat to themselves. They're scavengers, generally finding their food in the leftovers and decaying debris of animals and plants on the bottom of the ocean. There are plenty of legends around these creatures, and as much as they might not kill a human to feed, they absolutely have no problem gorging on any dead bodies that may find their way to the ocean floor. The Japanese spider crab is really only minding its own business, you know, just being a crab and cleaning up a lot of gross dead stuff. Number 3. Basking shark. Some of the ocean's gentle giants, basking sharks are the second biggest sharks in the world. Only whale sharks are larger. The basking shark eats only plankton and catches its prey in a particularly unique and frankly strange-looking way. Its gargantuan mouth can open up to 1 meter wide, giving these creatures a funny and permanently surprised sort of expression. As well as being a monster-sized 40-foot long and considerably hefty at 10,000 pounds in weight, this supersized shark has some other unusual features. Their livers make up a colossal 25% of their body weight. So what does a basking shark actually need such a big liver for? Well, this shark's liver is stuffed full of a substance called squalene, which is what helps it to keep it afloat. That's really weird. This special filtration system that a basking shark uses to catch its food is pretty unique as well. It filters up to 4 million pounds of water an hour, capturing the tiny plankton and then separating them from the water itself, closing its massive mouth to pump the water out again through its gills. And that makes that talent totally jawsome. Number 2. Fin whale. The only creature that's larger than a fin whale is the blue whale. So this is one colossal mammal with some massive credentials. Named for their prominent dorsal fin, these magnificent real-life sea monsters can grow up to 85 feet, weighing as much as 80 tons. Fin whales can swim at speeds of up to 23 miles an hour, but they're completely harmless to people and they only feed through their baleen system. This is a way of taking in huge amounts of water along with their food, then sieving it all out, keeping a hold of the prey and pushing the water out again. They dive down to depths of up to 200 meters in order to feed, mainly consuming krill, but these massive mammals are also adaptable and will eat other fish whenever there's a load of them available. They have a cool technique to kind of round up a school of fish, in fact. The fin whale will swim in circles around the schooling fish, getting them to bunch up closer into a kind of easy-to-eat bundle that they can then catch in their mouth. Whale, this is very interesting indeed. But what's number 1? Number 1. The manta ray. Now before you get all judgy, these manta rays are not the same as stingrays. They look similar, but where the stingray has, well, a sting in its long tail, the manta ray does not. Sure, it's got a long whip-like tail and looks a lot like a deadly stinger, but the manta ray is another of our ocean's gentle giants. So that's a relief when you see one of them, right? Growing up to an impressive 29 feet across, the manta ray is amongst the world's more vulnerable species. These highly intelligent creatures live along coastlines where there are coral reefs. And as you know, these reefs are endangered from pollution and bad fishing practices. So it's put these mighty sea creatures in danger as well. Like some of the other mega monsters on our list, the manta ray feeds by filtering water for plankton and krill, but they're more agile than some of the big whales that we've seen so far. These guys do a whole load of somersaults to feed in one place where they find a bunch of krill to eat, spinning and turning to get the most out of one spot. They even churn up the water to make a kind of whirlpool that traps the food in the spiral and makes them a whole lot easier to catch. So, the next time you take a paddle or a rowboat out onto the water, perhaps you'll come face to face with one of these awesome sea creatures of the world. I can understand where all those fishermen stories come from now. What would you do if you met one of the biggest sea monsters ever? And would you live to tell the tale? Also, check out the other cool stuff showing up on the screen right now, and I'll see you next time.